Good. Okay, great. So what I need everybody to do to take about 30 seconds, and I need you to answer two questions with the person next to you. I need you to answer question number 1, why this conference, and question number 2, why this session. Ready? Go. Why this conference? Why this session? 15 seconds. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Great. So the irony of a presentation on life balance and you show up late. This morning I was with the National Association of Drug Court Professionals, not too far from here. About 35 minutes without traffic. And we had a great time talking about this particular industry. And on paper, it sounded great. 3 presentations in one day. So now we're on 2 of 3, and we're going to talk about how life balance fits into this. Truthfully, I'm not talking about anything that I've mastered. It's something that I've struggled with as a professional. And if you're honest, a lot of you struggle with it in your professional life. So Philippe Petit, French high wire artist, knew that he wanted to walk a tightrope between the World Trade Center towers as soon as he heard about the construction. It was as a boy that he figured out that he loved acrobatics. And he had climbed buildings before, he had walked tightropes before, but this particular building, when he read about the construction of the World Trade Center in a newspaper, he knew that this would be one of the crowning acts of his life. So he makes the trip to America. And on the night before he's about to walk across on the tightrope, he disguises himself as one of the workers. And late in the evening, with a group of friends, they get all of their materials up to the top. As they're attaching one end of the line, the story is told, as they're attaching one end of the line, it falls. It's plummeting to the ground. And everything inside of him wants to give up. He and his crew spend the better part of the evening pulling up this massive rope. And he doesn't give up. In the wee hours of the morning, the citizens of New York look up and see him walking across the tightrope. But here's the thing, this particular experience was different than any other experience he had had before. The height was different. The feeling was different. The experience was different. Because he had never been in this place before. The truth is that balance is always different depending upon which stage of life you're in. So balance when you started your career, balance earlier in 2017 may look very different from balance today. This is not my daughter, but part of me wishes there was. I'm in that unique phase of life as a parent where I'm teaching my daughter how to ride a bike. And I'm excited because I know how to ride a bike. But for my daughter, she is completely terrified, at least when the training wheels are off. And we've had multiple experiences. There's one in the townhouse that we live when I'm helping her ride the bike and she's trying to balance and the ground is relatively flat. She doesn't do too bad. But when we ride around our neighborhood and she approaches a part that's a little bit hilly, she gets discouraged. Because balance is different depending on where you are at a certain point in time. Oh, she's going to get it this summer. She doesn't have a choice. I'm going to take those training wheels off and throw them away. But I'm trying to explain to her how you treat yourself and how you treat your bike when you're on flat ground is different than how you treat your bike when you're on rocky ground. Because life balance looks different. If there was anything that I want you to remember from the 47 or so minutes that we have left, it's this idea that life balance looks different depending on where you are. It looks different depending on who you are. It looks different depending on your career. It looks different depending upon your family makeup. And what is life balance for one person can easily be chaos for somebody else. Discernment says, I need to figure out what's best for me. Some of you in your life, in your career, are in a rocky place. I'm not fooled by the suits and ties. I'm not fooled by the nice makeup and the hairdos. I'm not fooled by the pleasant aroma. Some of you are in a real rocky place. And you are here at the conference. Honestly, some of you are here because you get to take a break. I'm here, no kids. I'm not answering emails. I don't care what's going on in the office. For you, the moments here are a bit of a respite. But you know that when you go home, the rockiness is waiting for you. For some of you, it's a bit smoother. Not without its challenges, but smoother. For those of you that are in life where it's smoother, you're almost obligated to help somebody else who's in a rocky space. So what does balance look like where you are? Just take 15 seconds. Take 15 seconds and think about your life. Think about your career. Think about your relationships. What does life balance look like for you? Here's the thing. In your particular industry, in your particular field, you are dealing with some very difficult individuals. But for some of us, the most difficult individual that we have to deal with is the one on the other side of the mirror. So take 10 seconds, 15 seconds. We're going to look at some principles of life balance. But for about 10 or 15 seconds, just think about it. What would life balance look like for you? What would be different? Think about your family. Think about your family makeup. Some of you come from what has been coined as the classic family, a two-parent home. It's you and your spouse, and you have 2 kids, and you have a dog. What does life balance look like for you? Some of you are single, and the only person that you have to answer to is yourself. For you, what does life balance look like? Some of us come from families where multiple generations are under the same roof. For you, what does it look like? Some of us are divorced or we're separated or we were never married and we have kids. However the mix or match looks like, however it's set up, what does life balance look like for you? Now think about that job. If you could achieve balance in your job, in your career, what would that look like? What would be different? Some of you say that's impossible. But think about it. Let your mind just go there for a few moments. What could be maneuvered differently? What could be rearranged in your career for you to achieve life balance? And here's the last one. Your social life. You said, what social life? But there are social interactions that you have outside of work, hopefully, and outside of your family. And if we're honest, for some of us in this room, it is these social interactions that are actually causing us the most consternation. They're causing us the most problems. They're causing us the most irritation. We have friends who they see us as their project managers for their life. Because we're so good at our job, we're so good at our careers, our family is in a decent place, they feel like they can dump on us and we can figure out their life for them. But if your social interactions had to change, if your social relationships had to change for the better, what would that balance look like? Would you sleep better at night? Would you stop losing hair like me? Some of us is going to go anyway, right? Would you? Would you have more free time? Would you have more money? Would you be less stressed? How would your relationships change? How would you feel about yourself if you were able to live a more balanced life? So 10 principles. 10 principles for a balanced life. And I put this picture of a fidget spinner on the screen because it annoys me. Now, if you got a fidget spinner in here, I don't mean to offend you, because I know adults like them too. But have you ever watched somebody play with a fidget spinner? For some of you, your children, they play with them all the time. Originally, they said it was for children who had attention challenges in school, and now it became a fad, and everybody has one, and it's all in different colors, and it's your favorite team, and it lights up. Like, after a while, it gets pretty ridiculous. But if you watch a person who plays with a fidget spinner, the joy for them, and usually if they're playing with it, they look to see who's watching. Just pay attention next time. The joy for them is not necessarily making it spin. The joy for them is balancing it on their finger. I tried it, I still don't get it. Maybe you could talk to me afterwards. You could explain it to me. But we're going to talk about life balance, 10 principles, and it's for more than just fidget spinners. So here we go. Number one. If you want to achieve better life balance, you need to establish or affirm your BVA. You need to establish or affirm your BVA. What's the natural question? Right. I knew this was a smart room when I was pulling up to the Hyatt. BVA, your beliefs, your values, your attitudes. You need to establish or affirm your beliefs, values, or attitudes. Your beliefs is what you hold to be true based on your experience. The value is how much you weigh those experiences, and your attitudes is how you feel about those experiences. Some of us, if we're honest, we are living outside of our value system. And because we're living outside of our value system, there's no balance. I learned this lesson. Well, I didn't learn it in college. I learned it after. It was there in college, but I didn't pay attention to it. I went to school, a small private school in Southwest Michigan, on a partial academic scholarship. I was freshman class president. I was in a leadership training program. You would think that I would be able to leverage those experiences to something great, right? Wrong. Because I fell into the trap that many college students fell into, and some of you in this room fell into. I fell into the trap of not having established parameters for my life. So you get on the college campus, where's the party? Yep, I'm going to it. Where's everybody hanging out? Yep, I'm going. Are you skipping school? Yep, I'm skipping school too. You're not turning in your homework? Nope, I'm not turning it in. Hey, let's just not go to class for 3 days straight and go to Chicago and hang out. Hey, why not? We got nothing else to do. We're only paying $25,000 a year to go to school here. And when I went back to school, because I dropped out, when I went back to school, I was able to make it through because I returned to my beliefs, values, and attitudes. Quinn, hey, you want to go hang out? No. I got to study. Why? Because I actually believe that I'm here for an education. Once you begin to establish or reaffirm your beliefs, attitudes, and values, then you actually end up with more time. Because you can throw stuff off of your plate that shouldn't be there. But I know what the challenge is. The challenge is if I start holding on to what I actually believe, then my relationships will change. They're supposed to. But you don't get it. It's always been this way. This is the way I grew up. This is the way that we managed. Just because that was the way that you've always done it doesn't mean it was the right way. So think about it. Think about your personal beliefs, your personal values, your attitudes, and where is your life not aligned with those three? Your BVA becomes your life filter. A lot of us in here like filtered water. Your BVA helps you filter some things out of your life that should not be there. Your beliefs, values, and attitudes help you establish boundaries. You can actually keep more people at a distance because you have boundaries. And boundaries are not wrong. We've been taught, for some of us who have never said no to anything in our lives, that boundaries are wrong. And that's why you're going crazy. Because you don't have any boundaries. Anything that anybody asks you to do, you say yes. And then secretly, you're swearing at them as soon as they walk away. I know it's Friday at 4:30. Can you? I'd love to. I hate you. But what would life look like if you had better boundaries? This book, Henry Cloud and John Townsend, in their book Boundaries, say, when we begin to set boundaries with people we love, a really hard thing happens. They hurt. Some of you are familiar with this book. You didn't like it the first time you read it, and you don't like it now. Because we have been taught, many of us, by always giving people what they want is a demonstration of love. And this is so not true. One of the most difficult experiences that I have as a parent, any parents in here? So I have this talk with my girls before we get out of the car, before we go into the mall. I said, listen, more Walmart than the mall, but similar. Listen, when we get out of this van, don't ask me for anything. We are here to get essentials. We're here to get clothes. We're here to get shoes. We're here to get underwear. That's what we're here for. We're not here for fidget spinners. We're not here for toys. We're not here for random stuff that you're going to play with for 5 minutes, and then tomorrow you're going to forget that you have it. And what happens every single time we get out of the car and we go into the store, and then they start with the tears. And I have 2 of them. And years ago, they used to get me. They don't get me anymore. I have resolve. I have a boundary. And you know what that boundary is? My budget. I explained to them, if I buy you all the toys that you want, then you're going to need a sleeping bag because we're going to have to sleep on the street. Do you want to sleep on the street? No, I don't want to sleep on the street. Well, I think we should leave the store. Yeah, Dad, we should. Until we get home, and then they tell their mother that I was mean to them because I didn't buy them anything. But my daughter's hurt because I'm establishing a boundary. And the boundary is actually the best thing for both of us. If I give my daughters every single thing that they want, they're going to grow up and expect that the world is going to do the same thing, and the world is going to chew them up and spit them out. Quinn, how do you know that? Because you work with some people. You work with some people in your portfolio who are the way they are partially because their parents gave them everything that they wanted. And you're trying as best as you possibly can to retrain them. Because boundaries help us keep the good in and the bad out. Boundaries also help us protect time. Anybody wish you had more time?
Yes.
She's like, yeah, that's why I'm up in here. Because Here's what I'm learning as a secret to protecting my time. And this is a blend between your personal and professional life. Here's how you protect your time. Stop saying yes to things you don't want to do. Are you coming to the cookout this weekend? Now, you had already planned that you were going to do nothing, or you're going to wake up early in the morning, you're going to cut your grass, you're going to go for a walk and put your feet up. And you know you're around the office and they're asking everybody Monday, Tuesday, and they haven't gotten to you yet, and you think you're going to be able to slip out on Friday afternoon without anybody asking you, and as soon as you're about to leave, hey! Are you coming to the cookout? What do you want me to bring? And then you go to your car with those same swear words in your mind because you didn't want to hurt their feelings. So you placed their feelings above your free time. You placed their feelings above your weekend sanity. You placed their feelings above the one day that you had off to take care of yourself. And then you live to regret it. So 2, reinforce it. Number 1, you need to establish it. And for some of us, that's a difficult conversation. It's difficult because you haven't established any beliefs, values, or attitudes before. You just did what everybody else did, and you realize that that's not getting you far. But don't get me wrong. You can have a great career living by somebody else's beliefs, values, and attitudes, but you can't have a fulfilled life. Once you've established it, you got to reinforce it. This picture is funny to me. Park closed, do not enter. Park closed, do not enter. That's more like a suggestion, right? How can you tell me not to enter if clearly there's a way? If I just step over the boundary that's on the ground, if you really didn't want me to come in the park, you would make sure that boundary was reestablished. If you really don't want me to infringe on your personal time, you would make sure that boundary was reestablished. If you really don't want to be scrambling at the end of every month with your personal budget, you would make sure that boundary was reestablished. And until you reestablish it, people are going to walk over it every single time. I'm learning this. People will do as much as you give them liberty to do. But the choice is yours. Number three, embrace the power of what? No. Now, some of y'all are not good at saying that. I can hear it. We're going to try on this side. Embrace the power of? No. That's better. Okay, they're better. You're going to let them beat you? Embrace the power of? No. Do you know who has no mastered? Little kids. No is mastered by them. And I thought that it was an inherently selfish thing, but child development specialists will tell you that it's not. Many times when a child is saying no, they're trying to establish themselves, they're trying to establish personal boundaries, they're trying to establish territory. There's some selfishness in there because that's how we're wired, but it's not all selfishness. And you know, we try to violate the boundaries of little kids all the time, especially in families, when we tell them, hey, go give grandma a hug. And the child says no. And you gently prod them. That's grandma, that's gram, that's Nana. Go give Nana a hug. What you're teaching the child is that their no does not have value. Naturally, if there's an affinity or a relationship, the child will be drawn to somebody else. But when you force relationships on people or force interactions on people, we're teaching individuals that their no doesn't have value. So by the time you get to 36, like my age, you're so uncomfortable at saying no because you've been conditioned that you don't say no, especially when you're around people that you love. So ask yourself, When are some situations that it's best for me to say no? And I know it's going to be difficult, but you're trying to get back the piece of life that you have left. I know it's going to be difficult, but you know what's even more difficult? Saying yes to something you didn't really want to do, and then pretending that you actually want to be there. You have to paint on that smile when you get out of the car. You have to pretend to like people and be interested in conversation. Oh, that's nice. That's interesting. And all you had to do was say no. Essentialism, Greg McKeown, he says in his book, remember that a clear no can be more graceful than a non-committal or vague yes. So Greg McKeown, he's from England, and one of the stories that he tells in this book, it's very interesting. He says around the time his wife was pregnant, he was working on a major project at work. And shortly, either right before or right after the birth of his child, his boss says, we have to have a big meeting with the client. And Greg says, well, my wife, baby. And the boss said, you know what? The client will respect you more if during this time that you're supposed to be off with your family, you actually come to our meeting. And he said he wrestled with it for a couple of weeks, and he finally acquiesced and went to the meeting around the time of the birth of his child. And he said he was wrestling with the pit in his stomach. Why did he do this? Why did he do this? But if the client was going to respect him, and if his boss was going to respect him, then he would go ahead and do it. And he said he got to the meeting, and after the meeting he was so frustrated because the client said that this meeting could have easily been handled over email. And he said from that experience taught him that if he doesn't embrace the power of no, he'll miss out on some of the best moments of his life. I know we all have families to feed, to take care of, a career to hold on to. But some of us are literally killing ourselves because we can't say no. Here's a small one. I'm getting you a small one. Next time the people in the office want to go out to lunch to a place that you don't want to go, say no. Just say no. I guarantee you, the sky will not fall and the world will not fall apart. And if you can try these small ones, you can develop the courage to handle the big ones. And number 4, and this is for my overachievers in the room. You need to be able to empower other people. Some of you are smart. You're super smart. You've always been smart. You've been smart since college. You have everything going for you. You can handle tough projects. If someone dumps things on you on Thursday night, by Monday morning, you have it all taken care of. That's how smart you are. But you're killing yourself because you're trying to do everything by yourself. Something my mom began to do for me when I was a kid that really sticks with me today. There was a time where my mom stopped washing my clothes. Some of you just almost died. What? Yeah, my mom came home one day from work and she says, I'm done washing your clothes. I was like, what am I supposed to do? We lived in the inner city. We didn't have a washer and dryer at home, so every week or so on Sundays we would wake up and go to the laundromat. She says, I'm going to give you a couple of dollars and I'm going to take the clothes from the house and I'm going to wash them at the laundromat. Now here are your couple of dollars. I'll make space for you in the car. But if you don't bring your clothes and wash them yourselves, they won't get washed. There was a time where my mom said, especially on days that she was tired, I'm not cooking you food today. I said, how am I supposed to eat? there's a refrigerator, and there's food. And she would show me little things in the kitchen. But what my mom was doing, she was actually empowering me to take ownership of my own life. And some of you are still spinning at that thought. But what happens in a work environment, those of us who are good, and we found this out in college, you know this, we found this out in college. The overachiever in college who in the group project said they could handle everything, we gave it to them and we went to hang out. Oh, I'll do the PowerPoint, I'll make the props, I'll get the sources, I'll hand you what you're supposed to do. And we said, oh, okay. And then the person, what makes it worse is when you get to the presentation and you give it and it goes decently, and then the person tells the teacher, well, I did all the work, nobody helped me. Well, that's how you set it up. And for some of us in our personal lives and professional lives, it's the same thing. You're fighting this balance because doing everything makes you feel you get your value from that. But then you're killing yourself. You do everything at work. You do everything at home. Somebody in your house can cook a meal besides you. Somebody in your house can clean something. Somebody in your house can take care of an important errand besides you. And if you don't empower people at home and empower people on your job, you're actually crippling them. Do you know that empowering people actually makes you a better version of what you currently are? Empowering other people actually makes you a better leader, makes you a better administrator. But the choice is, am I going to support people? Or am I going to try to fight the battle and do everything by myself? Okay, number five, halfway there. Number 5, you got to ask the key questions. What's the natural response? What are the key questions? Some of us are convinced that everything in the world is a 5-alarm emergency fire. You ever get those frantic emails from people at work? Some of you are chuckling right now. Those frantic emails from people at work because they're trying to take whatever their issue or challenge is and make it your emergency. Here's what I learned. I got to put things in categories. When I get a phone call, when I get an email, when I get a text message, when I get an inbox, I got to put them in categories. Category number 1, is it important? Category number 2, is it urgent? Category number 3, is it an emergency? And the truth is, 90% of the communications that I get from the teams that I work on are only emergencies in the mind of the people who send the communication. And you scramble and you don't eat lunch and you're all paranoid and you finally get the proposal or the project done and then you say, oh, we didn't have to turn it in until next week. All because you didn't categorize things between important, urgent, and emergency. Even if you got to put a sticky note to remind yourself. Anytime you get a phone call or communication, is this urgent? Is this important? Or is it an emergency? And get some of your time back. Okay, number six, we're getting to the other side of this. Number 6, life balance, you need to choose in advance. Well, what does that mean? How many of us in here like to go out to eat? Some of us are just home cooked people, and that's great. How many of us, when we go out to eat, order the same thing? Now, don't be, when I said go out to eat, everybody was like this. Order the same thing, you were like this. No, if that's you, just be honest. How many of you order the same thing? You order chicken strips no matter where you go. 4-star restaurant. Excuse me, do you have chicken strips? No, they don't have chicken strips. It's a 4-star restaurant. So my difficulty is when I go out to eat with people who I know order the same thing over and over again, but they sit there and pine over the menu. And one of the worst places to take individuals like that is a place like Cheesecake Factory. Cheesecake Factory has 437 things on the menu. You know you're only going to get the same thing. So this is what I start to teach people. My wife and kids. Before we go to the restaurant, we're going to download the menu, and we will already have made our choice before we get in the restaurant. Because I don't like that awkward feeling when the server is standing there. What do you want? And you're flipping page 8, page 9, page 10. I'm not quite sure. Close it. Excuse me, can I have chicken strips? Choose in advance. You want to add some balance to your life? Choose in advance. What does that mean? You know holidays come every year, right? Why do you wait to the day before Thanksgiving to argue about where you're going for Thanksgiving? Are we going to your side of the family? Are we going to my side of the family? I want to hang out with my friends. Where are we going? And you spend the entire day before Thanksgiving arguing over where you're going. All you had to do was back in July and say, okay, we got Thanksgiving coming up, we got Christmas coming up. Where are we going? So by the time the holiday rolls around, just write it, put it in an envelope, seal it, write Thanksgiving on it, write it, put it in an envelope, seal it, write Christmas on it. What do we want to do? Oh, no. We made this decision back in July. And life is much better when you choose in advance. I took my kids to a place that specializes in taking all of your money. Anybody want to guess where that was? It was Disney World. They specialize. We went to Magic Kingdom, and it was my second time to Disney. It was my wife's first time to Disney. And we walked into Magic Kingdom, if those of you have been there, and my wife was like, this is amazing. And I said, babe, we're not even really inside yet. Now you walk in, if you've never been to Magic Kingdom, when you first walk in, there are the shops and the t-shirts and the balloons and the flowers. Magic Kingdom is on the other side of that. And my wife was like, this is amazing. And I said, don't stop, keep walking. They're just trying to get your money. But we made the best out of that trip because we chose in advance what our strategy was going to be for that day. And I chuckled, not too much, but I chuckled at the individuals who were standing there with the app. What do you guys want to do? I don't know what I want to do. What do you guys want to do? And you're wasting precious time. It's $120 a ticket. I can't afford to waste any time. I want to do everything twice. And because we chose in advance, we were able to maximize our day. You know certain seasons of work are coming. You know at a certain time your caseloads build. You know at a certain time you have meetings. You know at a certain time of year it's very cyclical. You have these projects. Why don't you start choosing in advance how you're going to respond? Instead of waiting to the day of or the week of and wrestling with and being upset about your time. What would life look like if you chose in advance? Okay, number 7. Some of y'all need to talk about it. And on one hand, I'm 100% serious. On the other hand, I'm 100% joking, but more of my hand is on the serious. And I know it doesn't make sense, but I didn't do math. I did communication in school. So trust me, some of us in this room need to talk it out. And I know some of us come from home cultures where that's not popular. We don't talk about our issues. We don't talk about our challenges. But like I said before, there's stuff from our past that we're dealing with. And sure, you're 30, 40, 50, 60. But inside of a lot of us is a scared 5-year-old kid. A scared 5-year-old kid who grew up in a family where they didn't take care of you. or they didn't respect you, or they didn't value you. And some of the issues and individuals you deal with, their stories are very similar to yours. You just haven't let it out yet. And it's tough because you're trying to wrestle 30 and 40 and 50-year-old adult problems with the feelings of a hurt 5-year-old inside of you. Some of you just need to pull up on somebody's couch and set an appointment. Some of you need to call a trusted friend and mentor. Some of you need to take some of those days that you've accumulated and de-stress and have deep heart conversations about what's going on, because you're bringing that junk to work anyway. We see it on your face. We see it in your interactions. We see it in how when we get together in certain topics and you just get so frustrated and people ask, oh, what's wrong with her? Oh, that's just the way she is. That's not just the way she is. There's something inside of us that just doesn't feel good. And how dare we work in a profession where we're challenging people to be the best that they possibly can be, and we're not accepting the same reality for ourselves? How dare we work in a profession where we talk about treatment plans and we talk about therapies and methodologies and balance of life and getting back to your center. We talk about those things, but then we don't want to do them for ourselves. And we wonder why things start to go crazy. What would life look like if you talked it out just a little more? Number 8. Voicemail is your friend. I'll say it again, because I know this is like PhD level stuff. I'm going to talk slow so you'll get it. Voicemail is your friend. I was in graduate school and one of my mentors took me out to lunch. He was visiting from out of town, and his phone was exploding. Every 2 or 3 minutes, his phone was ringing and ringing and ringing and ringing. And I watched and I said, you're not going to pick up the phone? He said, no, they'll leave a voicemail. And then the phone rang and he picked it up quickly. And I was like, well, who was that? He said, oh, that was my wife. I'm picking up the phone. I said, why do you do that? He said, well, there are a few things. One, and he talked about the urgency and emergency principle. But he said another thing is, some people call you frantically because they don't want to use their own brain power to come up with solutions. So if you put a little bit of a buffer in there, it forces individuals to take a step back and think about how they can create a solution while they're waiting for you to call them back. Some of my favorite phone calls are with individuals who have left me a voicemail and I've called them back and they say, we figured it out. I'm thinking, you could have did that before you called me the first time. But voicemail is actually your friend. And people know you're not really going to get me after about 8 o'clock. I work, I travel, I speak, I do seminars, I teach classes, I work with faith-based organizations. After about 8 o'clock, you're getting a voicemail. And people will say, well, I sent you a text last night. Yeah, I answered you this morning. Well, what were you doing? Minding my business and leaving yours alone? But that's my boundary. That's my boundary. Because I'm uncomfortable sitting there working on things. And I know there are exceptions, there are emergencies, I get it. I work on a lot of stuff all the time, but it can't be a situation where my children's only interaction with me before bedtime is always seeing me at my computer. That's not living. And I'm tired all the time. Daddy, when are you going to have time for me? Daddy, when are you going to stop working on your speeches? Daddy, 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 daddy. And I'm going to look up and she's going to be 18. And my life will have transitioned to a smoother place. And I'll be like, let's hang out. And she'll be like, Dad, come on. So voicemail is your friend. And just because you get the message instantly does not mean you have to respond instantly. Just because they send you a text Well, I sent you a text. Okay. Use your friends. Number nine. Life balance. Be present in the moment. When you're at work, be at work. When you're with your family, be with your family. When you're with your friends, be with your friends. Be present in the moment. So back to Disney. We stayed at Disney all day. I got all of my money's worth. I think I got some other people's money's worth. We were at Disney from 8 a.m. till midnight. And I think I got about $150 worth. One of the last shows of the night, they do the fireworks, if you've been there. And I wanted to capture the moment, so I had my phone out. My wife had her phone out. And I looked around, and no one was watching the fireworks. Everyone was watching their phone watch the fireworks. And in the middle of the show, I took my phone and I put it in my pocket. By this time, my wife's phone is out of capacity because she has taken every picture known to man. She wanted to capture the moment, and she's got video and she's got everything. And her phone, you can take, on iPhones, you can't take anymore. And she says, "Let me see your phone." And I said, "No." And I cringed a little bit because I thought she was going to swing on me. But I said no. And she was upset for about 5 minutes. But then I took a step back and I saw that all four of us were not watching our phone watch the fireworks. All four of us were watching the fireworks. And it was one of the best memories that we have. All because we decided to be present in the moment. Let's be honest. Most of the stuff that we video or take pictures of, we're not going back to watch it. It's not like photo albums. Photo albums, you take them all, you dust it, and the yellow pages are stuck, they're stuck together. And we go back down memory lane. On our phones, it's completely different. Oh, I'm out of data? Well, there's Disney World. And if I hadn't paid attention in the moment, I wouldn't have the memories. Here's the last one. Don't stop trying. Life balance is a dance. And depending on what type of music you're listening to, you dance differently. Life balance looks different depending on where you are in life. So the question that you have to ask is, what does life balance look like for you? But don't stop at asking questions. Take the courage and actually do something about it. Thank you.